Hello everybody, my name is Lucy and welcome to Books and Brushes. So today I am doing 12 winter books. This is my little list of, funnily enough, 12 books which seems to match the theme that I am interested to read this winter or in winters coming. These are all wintry themed or Christmassy themed books. Before we get started into the actual list, I'll do my disclaimer as I kind of always do when talking about this subject. So I am not a Christmassy person. It just ain't me, okay? And I feel like I always have to preface this, defend myself, and I've realised lately that I kind of have Christmas anxiety, I think, because there's this whole pressure to love Christmas and it be everything, you must love it in Christmas spirit and I just don't feel that way about Christmas. It's fine, there's nothing wrong with it, I like the day, I eat a nice dinner, play board games with the family, presents, it's fine, there's nothing wrong with it. I just hate the attitude and the atmosphere at Christmas for it to be your entire life, and it causes me so much discomfort, and I've never really been able to figure out a way to sum this up and express it well, so it's just I'm the Grinch, I'm a Scrooge, I don't like Christmas. But that's not really true, and I've kind of been coming to terms with that this year. It's okay to not really be a big fan of Christmas. No one's going to come at me with a pitchfork if I say I don't like Easter, but if you say you don't like Christmas, you got the Christmas parade coming at you. Like, you can't not like Christmas. It's weird. People are still at Christmas, people still have trauma to deal with and bad memories and abuse. People still have bad things at Christmas. There's plenty of reasons why people are not like Christmas, and you shouldn't even need a reason. It's okay. If Christmas isn't your vibe, it's not your vibe. So I like Christmas, but I hate the pressure to have to love Christmas and for everything to be so OTT. It's just not my style, and I've kind of come to terms with that now. And I'm now calling it Christmas anxiety. The idea that it makes me uncomfortable to be pressured to be happy. I've got depression. It's not going to roll like that. I think that's a good way to sum it up. So whether you love Christmas and you're a Christmas nut, that's fine. I'm glad it makes you so happy and it brings you so much comfort and joy, but just don't be shoving it down my throat. I'm not here for it. You can play your Christmas music in July if you like, just don't bring it near me. I'm glad it brings you joy, just don't enforce it on other people. And if you aren't a lover of Christmas, whether you have a reason or not, I completely support you. You can like and not like whatever holidays you fancy. Why do we have to like Christmas? Why is there such a pressure? So let's talk about the 12 wintry books, and some are Christmassy themed, but Christmas books are difficult for a not Christmassy person because they're all very cheesy Hallmark movie, and that's definitely not my style. I definitely don't want a cheesy Christmas romance. You love it, but not for me. No thank you. All of my Christmassy themed books have a darkness, dark tone. You'll see when we get to the list. So we'll start with the wintry books and we'll merge into the Christmas themed books. So without me blabbing on any more than I have, let's get to the books. The first book is Snow and Rose, and I've realised I didn't write down any of the authors' names. This book is a enchanted modern fairy tale about two sisters who are polar opposites, and their dad disappeared or died in the woods, then they lost their mother to the grief of it, and now they are entering this enchanted forest and they're breaking a set of curses and spells, and it's their journey into this eerie forest. It sounds super sinister but also grounded. Literally in the synopsis it says the characters are grounded in reality and who are relatable. I have a very similar thing like that with the whole sisters who are opposites thing. I feel like I will relate to that vibe, and it seems cool. A more modern fairy tale, because I'm not a fan of old classics and stuff. I think it will be eerie and enchanting and snowy and definitely give me some fairy tale winter vibes. The next book is Wildwood. So this one has a strange synopsis, but it sounds really cool and different. So it's about our main character whose brother has been abducted by a murder of crows and taken to the impassable woods, to this tangled dark forest at the edge of Poland. And wow, does that sound wild. So no one's ever gone into this wilderness and come out to tell the tale. So our main character has a big challenge on his hands. So they uncover secrets, there's violence, there's warring creatures, powerful figures with dark intentions, and the whole story becomes about two friends saving not only the brother but also the wilderness, and it becomes so much more than a rescue mission for the brother but for the entire wood, and it just sounds really cool and mysterious. I mean, tell me that doesn't sound epic. The whole being abducted by a murder of crows, that intrigued me, and then you've got all these different elements, the mystic powers of the forest. There's so many mysterious, intriguing elements, really cool and different, and it definitely is giving me those cold winter vibes in this snowy forest. And I think this one sounds like a really enchanting dark read, and I'm really curious. What is the intention behind these dark mystical figures and animals? I want to know. I didn't paraphrase it in the best light, but it does sound really cool. So the next one, this one I've seen all over BookTube. This is probably the most popular Christmassy story that I have seen floating around in the YA category, and that is The Afterlife of Holly Chase. This book book is about a spoiled brat, horrible 17-year-old girl who is visited by the 3 ghosts of Christmas past, present and future to help her change her ways and become a better person, but she didn't, and then somehow she dies and she becomes one of the ghosts, and she is eternally made to then help other people as the ghost to change their life, turn it around when she didn't. It's an internally miserable life watching her family grow up and grow on without her, but this year is going to be different. In the synopsis it doesn't say why. I've heard floating around on the grapevine that there's possibly a boy that changes things, maybe changes her mindset, possible romantic vibes, not quite sure on that, but I love a Grinch story or a Scrooge story. As I said at the beginning, we not Christmassy people are often described as Grinches and Scrooges, because apparently if you're not into tinsel it makes you a bad person. No, in all seriousness, I like the idea of a bad, unlikable character and not a nice person not having learned their lesson and then having to be made to try and save other people from this same fate, and the idea of it having changed her. And I'm really interested to follow such an unlikable character and see what changes it for her. What does this year bring for her? Does someone change her mindset? And I'm really interested in that character arc, possibly a redemption. It sounds like a fun story following a not nice person, and I like that idea a lot. So hopefully this one will be fun. You know, I always love my moral intrigue. I'm excited for this one. It doesn't sound cheesy, it sounds quite dark like all of the books I'm mentioning are. Even though it's quite popular, I haven't heard anything about it. I think it will be a really fun one for me personally. Next up are The Winter People by this person. I'm so used to saying by author, and now that I don't have a list of authors, I feel lost. Oh, bad planning on my part, and I actually prepared for this video. You wouldn't know it. So The Winter People is a thrillerish mystery book. So the book is set in Vermont, in this town that has a history of strange disappearances and mysterious deaths. And in 1908, a woman was found dead behind her house in the snow just after her daughter tragically died. And then we skip forward to the present day with a 19-year-old main character who wants to live off the grid completely. She lives with mother and sister, and that backfires when she wakes up and her mother has disappeared. And because they're so off the grid and so far away from everything, she hasn't really got any backup to help her. But she does end up finding the diary of that mother who was found tragically behind her house. So our main character is getting stuck into this historical mystery and her own present day mystery, and trying to use this old mystery to try and help inform her and guide her own search. And maybe these two things are connected, and can she stop the past from repeating itself? It's all about her following similar mystery that happened in the past to try and help inform her of her current mystery and save her mother. It sounds very isolated because it's just her in a diary trying to solve this mystery with no other outside help. It sounds interesting with the past and present timelines. Does she find her mother? Does it repeat itself? Are these things connected? Is there like a strange curse or a serial killer or something? Or is it just a pure coincidence that she's in a similar situation? I think it would be a really fun, mysterious read. Perfect for winter. The next one is Wintersong. Now this one had me intrigued from the get-go, and you'll see why. This one is described as The Labyrinth meets The Cruel Prince. Now, don't really know about The Cruel Prince, don't really care about The Cruel Prince if I'm honest, but Labyrinth though. And when I read the synopsis, it screams Labyrinth. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm talking about the old 90s or 80s movie that is a complete cult classic. It is one of my all-time favourite movies. I love that movie with my whole heart and soul. It's one that Connor over at Connor's Library Corner really needs to watch because he'd love it, and I'm not going to stop recommending that to him because you'd like this movie, I promise. I'm not crazy. So if everyone can tell Connor in the comments that it's an amazing movie and he should watch it, go ahead and do that. But this synopsis sounds really cool, and I read a few reviews saying that although the synopsis sounds very similar, it's got that same theme and concept, but the entire vibe of the story is totally different, and it's not just the movie in script, which to be fair I would be okay with because I love that movie so much. So if it's different from the movie, oh, that's cool. It's the same idea but a different take. But if it's the same as the movie, it doesn't even matter because I love the movie. So it doesn't seem like I can lose here, I hope. Let me tell you about the synopsis of this book and you will see why it screams The Labyrinth. So all her life the main character's heard the tales of the mysterious Goblin King, and she is fascinated by it. And it has also informed her musical composition because she is a lover of music and playing and composing music. The story has a huge theme about music. But now it is the last winter night of the year and the Goblin King is searching for his bride. The main character is 18 and helping run her family's inn, and she's worried that her musical dreams and her childhood fantasies are slipping away. But when her own sister is taken by the Goblin King, she must disappear into the underground to try and save her. Drawn to this strange, captivating, bizarre world, she meets the mysterious man that happens to rule it and is faced with an impossible decision. With time and laws and magic all working against her, because we all know the labyrinth isn't fair, she must discover who she truly is if she's to beat the underground Goblin King and save her sister. So if you've watched the Labyrinth, you know that that is so Labyrinth. It's literally the plot of the movie, except it's her little brother and there isn't the theme of her being a musician or anything, but it sounds like it definitely takes a similar track. And if the book is as enchanting and magical and strange and dark as the movie is, this book sounds incredible. It's one of the ones on this list that I'm the most interested to get. Not only is it because it sounds exactly like the movie I love so much, but also it adds so many new elements and I think it could take a different track. But the movie is so enchanting and captivating, and that synopsis is too, and I cannot wait to get this one in my arsenal at some point. Connor, please watch this movie already. He loves musicals, he'll love this movie. So yeah, that one is very, very high up on my list of wintry themed books. Next one is on New Year, and that is one I've heard about a few years ago and I've been interested in it ever since. It's never quite left my brain, and it's one I will get at some point, and that is The Chaos of Standing Still. This is about a main character. I think it's her best friend died a year ago, and for obvious reasons she is devastated and still grieving the loss of her friend. She's holding on to that friendship and also a text message that she received from her friend in which she's never opened. I think she feels that if she doesn't open the message it will keep her friend alive. She doesn't want to read that last thing her friend wrote or said to her. She's so curious about what it says, but also she doesn't want to open it and then it'd be the last thing. And now she's stuck at Denver Airport on the night of New Year's Eve, on the anniversary of her friend's death from a year ago, and all of the feelings resurface. She knows that she has this text message in her phone unread, but when she accidentally bumps into another boy at the airport and they accidentally end up swapping phones, she has to track him down to try and get her phone back because she is panicking not only that she's lost her phone, but that text message which she's held on to for so long, and she's determined to get the phone back. Synopsis also has a few interesting other elements. Apparently the boy has own issues to deal with. They meet a few interesting characters. There's a New Year's Eve party because this all takes place over New Year. With the help of these people in this situation, can our main character finally get that closure of her best friend, and will she or won't she read the message? I think she probably will. It's such an interesting concept about having this message that she never opened and then losing her phone, and whole being stuck in the airport is an interesting setting, trying to track it down, all of the emotional grief complexities that come with this situation. I think it's going to be a tearjerker, really interesting reflection on grief. I really want to know what the text says. Probably something anticlimactic like, oh, see you next Saturday, or something random. It's not going to be the last words, a suicide note, or something like that. But who knows? It takes place at New Year, so I think it would be a perfect book to read around then, because I don't really know of any other books that are set on New Year. So it's the perfect seasonal book to read at that time of year, and I heard about this book years ago and I'm still interested in it. I've just never found the chance to pick it up, but it's on this list, so I can always refer back to this list and these books. So we did the wintry themed books, we did a New Year, and now we're kind of going on to Christmas. All these books are Christmas themed but also have darker tones. So the first book is This Winter by Alice Oseman. I saw this book in Waterstones when I went recently and I was this close to picking it up, and then I ordered it on Amazon. Spoiler alert, I spent some of my birthday book money on Amazon and I ordered some books. They'll be arriving. If you haven't seen my book haul, you should go watch that. Got some more books coming. Yay! Anyway, This Winter. Terrible name, by the way. As far as I know, this book is about a family of 3 siblings who are about to celebrate Christmas, but it's going to be a different Christmas this year, a different tone, because I think they're grieving the death of someone. I assume a parent. I have no idea. There's definitely a darker, sadder tone this year. Maybe it's the anniversary of a death. I'm not quite sure, but it's the happy, joyful Christmas spirit season. This family is going to try and get through with as much happiness and joy as they can, but also there's that dark, realistic tone of bad things happen, and they also happen at Christmas, which, like I said before, realistic. I like that. Thank you. These siblings are going to have a little bit of a struggle this year, but I'm really interested to see how these 3 siblings get along this Christmas and how you deal with a very aggressively positive time when you have trauma and grief and emotions to deal with, and memories of Christmases past and loved ones, because Christmas is a time where you do think about your families. Family member dies, that's always going to replay in your head and it's going to taint, and it's never going to quite be the same. It's a book about the Christmas festive season, but also about grief and sadness and them coexisting in the same time and place. This is my kind of Christmas story, people, because like I said before, Christmas is so aggressive excessively happy. You have to be happy at Christmas. And some people have shit to deal with, okay? This family in particular dealing with grief, and that can't be minimised. Christmas isn't magic. I know people like to think Christmas is a magical time, but grief is grief, trauma is trauma, and I'm really interested in this story because I think it will be hopeful and sad, but it's realistic. I like that. As I explained, as a person who gets very uncomfortable with the overly positive nature of Christmas, I think this will be realistic and sweet, and I think this family, they will get through it and it's going to be real. And I think that is the perfect kind of a Christmas story for me. I don't think that's depressing, I think that's life, and life is depressing, but I think there's going to be a hopeful undertone about family and sticking together and getting through it and not having everything be magical rainbows. There are going to be darker undertones, but also there's a light in dark times too. I'm really excited for this book. I think it's going to be really fun. Also, it's mixed media. When I was flipping through it in Waterstones, it's really short. It's the smallest book ever, but it's got illustrations and loads of mixed media in it. I'm probably going to read that over Christmas. It looks so good. The next one is Twas, the Nightshift before Christmas. This follows a junior doctor working the Christmas shift on the ward and the adventures, the real life happenings on the NHS during Christmas. This book is about the unsung heroes of the NHS and all the people around the world who work on Christmas and who are saving lives, still doing the job, the people that still need to be there on the day that everyone wants to be off and thinks they have the right to have, but people like this still have to work. And this book is set in Britain, obviously, NHS. It says it's fully illustrated as tastefully as possible, which just sounds funny, and it's a realistic setting and account of what it's like on the ward at Christmas. I think that concept sounds really interesting. Again, Christmas, yay, festiveness, but also that darker undertone of real life. People still get sick, people still get hurt, people still need care and hospital. And I think it would be really interesting to follow a junior doctor on a Christmas day. I am not a doctor or a nurse, and I have no idea what it would be like to work in the NHS on a normal day, let alone on a day like Christmas. Actually, both of my boyfriend's parents used to work in the NHS. They both did the Christmas shift many times, so I thought that would be a really interesting thing to learn about and find out what that's like. By the synopsis and the vibe I'm picking up from this book, it sounds like it's going to be a bit kooky. There's going to be all sorts of crazy accidents that have happened on Christmas Day. I think it's going to be slightly sad. People don't want to be in the hospital at Christmas. It will have a slight air of raw reality. It will be kooky and it will be funny. And I don't think Christmas on the ward would be that bad, to be honest. I think it would be kind of fun. Well, not fun, but I think it'd be a really interesting shift to work, personally. Not only are you helping people on the most festive day of the year, but I think it would be really nice to bring that Christmas cheer to people who need it the most. By the synopsis, it sounds like it's quite funny. It's sick humour, and I'm interested to see the NHS workers banding together on Christmas Day and having their own little family celebrations with their co-workers, found family, that kind of thing. It sounds raw, it sounds realistic, it's Christmassy spirited, and it's got hope in it, but it's true at the same time, and it's got that undercurrent of dark, raw reality. All those things, yes please. And I'll be interested to pass this book then on to my mother and father-in-law, and they can read this book because they'll probably get a kick out of it, and they can tell me whether it's accurate and realistic, which I assume it is because it seems like they work with NHS people to get this book. I don't think it's a non-fiction, I think it's a fictional book, but it's inspired by the real life events of NHS people as far as I know. So it'd be interesting to see if my mother-in-law thinks that it's accurate. I'm all about this. Next up we have The Christmas Killer. Thrillers are definitely a good Christmas book for me because again, you've got the Christmas festive vibe and you've got murder. Yay! It brings that dark element that I need to balance out jolly. I hate too much jolly, it needs a bit of balance. So The Christmas Killer is about a detective who's looking forward to a quiet family Christmas, he just wants to relax for a few days over the Christmas period. But when he receives a Christmas present, it is full of a different kind of surprise, with a note from a serial killer saying 12 days, 12 murders, promising that they were going to kill 12 people over the 12 days of Christmas. And not long after, a body is found frozen in the snow due to murder. As the blizzard descends, panic spreads through this really small village. There's a killer amongst them, and with so few in the population, anyone could be next. One of those towns where you know everyone, so you know who the killer is. You have probably met the killer, you've probably said hello, you may even be friendly with the killer. No one in this village is going to be safe. Who are the 11 that are going to die next? And can the detective figure it out and stop all these Christmas murders? It sounds like a dark, atmospheric book in the blizzardy snow, and I'm looking forward to see whether the detective can figure it out. This small Cumbrian village in utter panic race to figure it out before the killer summer strikes again. It sounds super wintry. There'll be all the Christmas vibes, but also the sinister murder plot going on. I've not really read any Christmas thrillers before. Whatever will happen, I'm sure it will be a fun ride. It'll be a perfect Christmas snowy read. There are other Christmas thrillers on my radar as well, but this is one of the ones that stood out to me a bit. And lastly for today, we have One More for Christmas by Sarah Morgan. Yes, I actually have this one physically. Yay! Like I said, I ordered a bunch on Amazon and this one arrived on its own and the rest are coming in one big box. Who knows why they did that? It looks like a cheesy Christmas cover, but it sounds quite good. So it's about these two sisters and their mother. Their mother is a successful, motivated businesswoman whose life has been all about her career and her success. And her success has come at a price, and that was her daughters. There has obviously been some sort of falling out. The mother and the sisters have never really gotten along, and so she hasn't spoken to her two daughters in years. But when she has an accident at work, she comes to this epiphany that family means more than she previously gave credit and respect for. Maybe she's putting her attention and her focus in her life in the wrong area, and so she wants to make amends with her family and make them far more of a priority than her career. And so this Christmas she invites herself to join her two daughters in their Christmas plans in the Scottish Highlands, which has a beautiful snowy setting, and the sisters are not happy about it. They've had their Christmas planned and they didn't want their mother dropping in and intruding. Obviously they don't have a great relationship, so they're not looking forward to having to spend this awkward time with their mother who they don't get on with, and they're annoyed that she's invited herself and inserted herself into their plans without their invite. These two sisters think they have each other, they've never needed their mother before and they don't now, and they don't need their mother back in their lives, or so they think. So as they have their first family Christmas together that they've had in years, they're going to face up to some home truths, some past misunderstandings and differences. Is that enough to heal the past wrongs and to bring this family and these three women back together? So this one is probably the cheesiest of all the books I've mentioned. I love the idea of this dynamic of the mother that they just don't get on with crashing their Christmas. I think there's going to be so many beautifully awkward moments from that. Everyone knows what it's like to have family members you just don't get on with, some more severe than others. I'm not going to talk about that. This year for me especially, I very recently had to cut a family member out of my life. I love that whole dynamic of this uptight career businesswoman mother who's on top of her game but doesn't really have strength in the family lovable department. It's giving me Bad Mums vibes. I love that movie. And there's the Christmas one, which is actually a good Christmas sequel. Heaven forbid, most Christmas sequels are awful. Again, it's Christmassy but it's different and it's quite dark in certain places. The main character's mother is played by, oh, what's her face? She plays loads of uptight women in so many different roles and she's so good at it. I'm going to be picturing her while I'm probably reading this book. I'm really getting that vibe from the mother, and I think it's going to be such an interesting dynamic between these two sisters who love each other and have been there for each other for all these years, and this estranged mother trying to patch and mend what's gone wrong in the past. And will she be sincere? She's probably going to be mad at it at first, but is she sincere? Does she really want to fix the past? Does she really want to get back with her daughters? Is she going to sacrifice her career in any way to do so and prove that that's now important to her? I like that idea of family members not getting along at Christmas. Again, realistic, everyone has a family member they don't get on with at Christmas, awkward family times. I'm sure by the end they'll all be best of friends and they'll have mended their relationship. There'll be deep talks about forgiveness and all this stuff. Sometimes it's worth cutting people out of your life if it's for your health. Never be afraid to cut people out of your life who are causing you pain. Trust me, it's worth it. But this seems a little bit more light-hearted. It doesn't seem like the mother did anything horrendously wrong. She was just a little bit neglectful and not the most loving type. It seems like it's going to be a really fun, sweet book, very Christmassy, and since I actually have this one physically in my hands, this is probably going to be the one I read this Christmas, and then the other books I've mentioned might be next Christmas. I can refer back to this video next year and so can you, but this physical book will be the one I get to soon. Now those were all the books, although there is a caveat to this. There was one more book I was going to talk about in this list, and that was Secret Santa. So in preparation for this video I wrote down all the books that I was going to talk about, and then later on I searched them all on Goodreads to get the synopsis, which I have written in front of me so that I could paraphrase off of those. And the last book on the list was Secret Santa. So when I looked it up on Goodreads I found 4 books with that exact title. I'm not talking about similar titles because there was at least probably 30 with similar titles. I'm talking the exact same title. There was a few Santa's Secrets, there was Secret Santa with Mariah, all sorts of similar titles, but 4 exact ones that were called Secret Santa. And when I looked up the synopsis of all 4 trying to find the one and remember which one I initially planned, it was hilarious to find out that all 4 are so unbelievably different. So the one I originally intended to be on this list was a mystery novel. The second one I read was a 80s Stephen King type horror. The third one was a sexy office romance erotica, and the fourth one was a short story collection of 4 stories including mystery and romance. So literally the same title, 4 completely different genres. You'd think as an author you'd research and find other books have your title and change your title, but no, I find this so funny that these 4 synopses sound so totally different that I really want to do a video. I probably won't get time to do it this year unfortunately, but I might do this video for next year. I'll save this concept. I might get all 4 of those Secret Santa books and read them and compare them. Do you think that sounds fun? Because I think that sounds like an amazing video idea. So I'll quickly go through the synopsises of the 4 because it's just funny. So the mystery is about an isolated mansion with a very rich and up-to-do couple who've invited these guests for their grand party, but when they open a gift find out that there is someone in this party who wants revenge and they want to murder someone in the room, and then there's this whole mystery of trying to figure out who at the party is here for revenge, and it becomes a tense who will survive the night. Snow falling and a blizzard and nowhere to go, who is going to survive the party? It sounds really cool. It's kind of giving me the 7 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle vibes mixed with Christmas. It sounded really interesting, which is why I initially wanted to add it to this list. But the second book, The Horror, this is based around a character who works in the publishing industry, and they're trying to find the next Stephen King to write the next best 80s horror novel. So this book is set in the 80s. Our main character is desperate for this job and she needs the money, so she's determined to find the next Stephen King. No one actually wants her to work there. There's a lot of mean-spirited pranks and hassling going on, but during the Secret Santa gift exchange she opens a demonic looking artifact-like object, and her co-workers start getting in these mysteriously dark accidents and start dying, which are strangely based on a George Romeo movie and other authors from the books and movies of the era, and our main character has to figure out the nature of this cursed object and see if she can stop it. That just sounds crazy. It sounds like true 80s horror cheese, wild. This book you can tell is going to be crammed full of 80s horror references galore with this demonic object, and it just sounds so cool and so utterly different from the other mystery. Then the third Secret Santa book is an erotica, because of course it is. It's about a main character who's struggling to make ends meet. When she finally lands that job she needs, she finds out that the head of the creative team just doesn't want her there. She can't lose this job, so she's planning on avoiding him as he grumpily stomps around the office. But of course, when the Secret Santa happens, the two get paired up together. And I just have to read the last bit of the synopsis for you because I can't paraphrase it any better than it's written. So this is verbatim. Are you ready? Warning, this super hot holiday romance contains Santa hats, red satin blindfolds, and an obsessed alpha male who talks dirty and knows exactly what to do with his big hands. Lots of swearing, no cheating, no cliffhangers. I have not read erotica in many years. I used to read quite a lot of it, but then I stopped because I got more into YA and fantasy and more regular fiction. There's nothing wrong with erotica. I have no shame in people who read erotica or me reading erotica, especially in bad erotica tastes. This book sounds so completely different to the other 2, but it has the same title and it's crazy to me. I just find that warning hilarious. Well, you know it's gonna be some bondage fantasy, and that's cool. A Christmas bondage fantasy. What more could you wish for? And the last Secret Santa book is a collection of 4 short stories, so even more in the way of genres. I'm literally gonna read it. I can't be asked to paraphrase anymore, and I probably couldn't write it any better. First one, Mr. Christmas. A week before Christmas, attorney Claire O'Brien is summoned to Ireland to change her wealthy client's will, only to encounter resistance from his handsome nephew. Will Claire be forced to spend the holidays up close and personal with her irritable Irish nemesis? The second story, The Yellow Rose of Christmas. Though Miss Velvet Tudmore wrote off Christmas years ago, rumour has it she has a secret admirer, and when her surprise suitor promises to reveal himself at the annual Christmas ball, Velvet starts to wonder, is it too late to find love? The third story, Nightmare on Elf Street. Aside from the mortifying costume, how bad can a gig as a more Santa's elf be? Janie finds out when she's teamed up with the Santa from hell, but things go from bad to worse when he's murdered on the job, and Janie is a suspect. Now all she wants for Christmas is to find the real killer. And the fourth short story, Room at the Inn. Barb and her husband want to spend Christmas in a remote Colorado cabin with their fellow travelers. Barb struggles to cope, especially when her husband reveals troubling news that sometimes a holiday shake-up is all a woman needs to discover what she's truly made of. So in that short story collection you have romance, mystery. All of those books are called Secret Santa. So do you think that would be a hilarious video idea if I read all of these books, the horror, the mystery, the erotica, and then compared them all? I think that would be hilarious. I'll probably do that next year. I don't think I'll get time for it this year. We'll see. Let me know if it's a good idea, because if you love that idea I might do it this year. Maybe you could pressure me into it. But that is all the winter and Christmassy themed books that I'm interested by or intrigued by, and hopefully we'll get for the winter season for this year and winters to come. Let me know down in the comments wintry books that you love, especially if they have dark themes. Like this video if you enjoyed it, and that way you can refer to it for next year if you like to. Encourage me to make that Secret Santa book comparison video because it will be hilarious. Thank you so much for watching this video. I have no idea how long this video will be. I've been filming forever. My memory card is literally running out of battery, so I'm having to talk very quickly. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks for listening to me rant about Christmas and dark books. You're always there for me. I love you. You support me. Just thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye. Running out of time. Sorry, memory card.